here, and I am here with my July wrap-up. Basically, if it weren't for Booktubeathon, I wouldn't have read, like, anything this month, and I didn't even read that much during Booktubeathon and the 24 and 48-hour readathon, not as much as I wanted to anyway. I have a full wrap-up for that, so a lot of these books I'm not going to talk about for too long because I read them during the readathon, and I've already done a separate wrap-up, so definitely go check that out. I will link it down below. Also, I don't know if you'll be able to see this once I edit this, but there are a lot of boxes over here, and I apologize for that. It's all wedding stuff. There's so much stuff. The first book I read in July was Tomboy by Liz Prince. This is a graphic memoir by Liz Prince about growing up as a tomboy. So she didn't really conform to normal stereotypes about what little girls should be. She's very into physical activity. She dressed like a boy, etc., etc. Just didn't really conform to heteronormative gender stereotypes. So I really enjoyed this. It was really cute. I think I gave it 3 stars overall, and it was just really insightful. And I think it covers from the time she's like little, maybe in elementary school until she is in high school, and talks about the friends that she made along the way who were more like her and accepting of her, and also of all of the people who bullied her. So it was really insightful. It was a great little read. If you're into graphic memoirs, I would highly recommend it. The next book I read in July is something that I'm sure all of you have heard of by now, and that is Homegoing by Yagyasi. And this was amazing. It blew my mind. I haven't done a review of it yet. I might. I don't know. I'm super behind on reviews. There are books from like March and April that I still want to review that I just haven't gotten around to doing yet. So this is a multi-generational tale. It begins with 2 half-sisters who were born in Ghana during the slave trade, and they are separated, and one marries into a position of privilege, and the other is sold to the slave trade, and she is sent to the U.S. as a slave. Then it follows their descendants for 7 or 8 generations, I believe. So you kind of see one side of their genealogy grows up in Africa, and the other side in the U.S., through obviously multiple major turning points in history, and it was absolutely amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful examination of race. There were issues of classism, of gender, just really, really poignant, really beautiful. It read really quickly, so if you don't normally read literary fiction, but you are interested in this, I highly recommend it, because this like easily could have been something I sat down and read in a day had I had the time. It did take me a little over a week, but I absolutely adored it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I found the ending to be a little bit contrived and a little bit convenient, but it was still really beautiful. The next book I finished is another one I adored, and that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Again, a lot of people have been talking about this. This is a sci-fi novel, and it is the first in the Wayfarers series, and it's kind of about this misfit crew whose job it is to basically open up wormholes for faster space travel, and they are on a long journey in this book, and it's amazing. If you are interested in really character-driven sci-fi, this is definitely a book for you. The characters were absolutely amazing, really beautifully developed. They were all very unique. There were lots of different types of relationships that were examined, from friendship to just kind of co-workers who try to coexist without inhabiting the same space, to romantic relationships and family relationships. And the world building was incredible. Every little stop they made at different planets, and each world was brought to life so vividly. There are all these different species of aliens that were also had all their own cultures, and Becky Chambers just did a phenomenal job. I'm really looking forward to the second book. I think it's being released soon, in October maybe. And yeah, I gave this 5 stars. I had so many feelings about this. Then Booktubeathon and the 24 and 48-hour readathon happened. Like I said, I already have a wrap-up for that, but very quickly what I did read was a standalone graphic novel called Beauty by Kira Scott and Hubert. This is translated from French by, wait, does it tell me? by somebody. It just says initially, Joe Johnson. This is, so it was originally published in French and translated by Joe Johnson. This is a self-proclaimed fairy tale for grown-ups, and I really enjoyed it. The art was really fun. The story was kind of silly at times, but had a lot of really interesting themes as well. I ended up giving this 3 stars. Then I read a play. I read Ma Rainey's Black Bottom by August Wilson. August Wilson is a very renowned American playwright. He's a black man and has won multiple Pulitzers. This play takes place over the course of one day. And there are these black jazz artists coming into a recording studio to record some songs. The recording studio is run and managed by white men. And it's really this really compact story about racial tension, race and relations in 1920s in Chicago, and everything kind of hits a boiling point. There's a lot of anger throughout this story and a lot of tension. Really well done. Highly recommend it. I can't wait to read more of August Wilson's work. I also read Persuasion by Jane Austen. I did not care for this. I gave this 1 star. I am not a fan of Jane Austen's stories in general. This kind of sealed the deal for me. I appreciated them more when I was younger. As I'm getting older, I appreciate them less and less. I'm just not very into her romantic plot lines. I find her characters to be a little bit petty, and I might do a full video on all of this someday soon. For those of you who are wondering, this is my 5th Jane Austen novel, so I have given her a fair shot. But it was not for me. I gave that book 1 star. Something that was much better than Persuasion was in Persuasion Nation. This is a collection of short stories by George Saunders, who's one of my all-time favorite short story authors. It was absolutely fantastic. I gave it 4 stars. Not the best place to start with George Saunders if you have not yet read him. I might do an overview on him. This is the 4th collection of his stories I've read. Plus, I've read his children's story, The Persistent Gappers of Fripp. So it might be time for me to do a little author overview exploration of him, and then I will give you better recommendations of where to start. But this is not the place. But if you have read some George Saunders already and really love him, then this is definitely a good one for you. Finished another standalone graphic novel. The only graphic novels I read this month were standalones, actually. That is Seconds by Ryan Lee O'Malley. I really enjoyed this. It's about a girl named Katie who's a chef and it runs a very successful restaurant, and she is visited by this sort of house goblin and realizes that she has a stash of mushrooms growing underneath the restaurant that if she eats them, she can erase her mistakes. So she gets obviously into all kinds of trouble because you're not supposed to fuck with time like that. And it was really awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like the portrayal of the restaurant industry in it, which is a big deal for me. I like to see that well done. The characters were fun. The art was great. Overall, a really, really fun read. Then I read a collection of poetry. I've hit on all kinds of formats this month. I read Remnant Gospels by Carol Ann Duffy. This was one of the picks in July for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club. I'll link that Goodreads group down below because it's very fun. I really enjoyed this. This is the 2nd collection I've read by Carol Ann Duffy. I previously read The World's Life. These poems were really powerful. The imagery is great. She's amazing. So if you have any interest at all, I do really recommend picking this up. I finished 2 books on the 31st of July. We'll talk about the least controversial one first, and that is Multiple Choice by Alejandra Zambra. Alejandra Zambra is a Chilean author, and this book is so weird, but so good. It's told in a very non-traditional narrative style, and so it's set out like an exam. So you have different sections. The first section is multiple choice. The second section is kind of a fill in the blank. The third section is sentence removal, so he gives you a story, and you're supposed to decide which sentences don't belong. And the 4th section is reading comprehension, so he tells a short story, and then you have to answer questions about it. This was really fun. It's a tiny little thing. I highly recommend it. It's made me think a lot about how we perceive stories and how we think about stories. It is not a coherent narrative at all. As you can see on the cover, it says multiple choice, and it says fiction, nonfiction, poetry, all of the above, none of the above, which very accurately describes it. So, like I said, I had a really good time with it. It dives into a lot of issues around Chilean culture and politics, which is very interesting, and I can't wait to check out more of his work. I know he has at least one novel and one book of short stories out as well, so yay, I liked that. Alright, listen, I'm not going to do a review of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, but I read it. I went to the midnight release. I got the book in my hands. I was a little overwhelmed by how emotional that experience was. I didn't expect, because like I've been excited for it, but I haven't been like jumping out of my skin excited for it. I've been a little skeptical from the get-go. And I didn't understand just how emotional it was going to be at a midnight release for Harry Potter again. So that was all very great. Read the first couple of pages. They made me tear up a little bit. And then it just like took a nosedive downhill from there. So this is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Like I said, got this midnight release. I finished reading it on the 31st. I did not enjoy it. I gave it 1 star overall. I hesitated to give it a star rating at all at first, just because I was kind of trying to parse out my emotional reaction from my critical reaction to it. Overall, I didn't enjoy it. I thought that the writing was terrible. I thought that there were a lot of holes in the plot. I'm a little disappointed that this is being released to the public right now. I think that it could have been done much, much, much better. And I've heard wonderful things about the stage production of it, which I will be more than happy to see if I ever get the opportunity to. But nope. It was really disappointing. So that's how I feel about that. And like I said, I'm not going to do a full review on it. So, that's the little stack of books I read in July. I'm hoping that August is going to be a much better reading month. And here's why I think August is going to be a much better reading month. I'm getting married in September, which means August I'm going to be extremely stressed out and anxious and just freaking out all over the place. And when I do that, I tend to avoid reality by reading a lot. So, it's the 2nd of August. I've already finished 2 books. But I am currently reading 5 books, which I will also show you now. I finally picked Vampires in the Lemon Grove by Karen Russell back up. I read the first 2 stories in this collection months and months ago, and I just really need to finish it. So I've read a couple more stories, and I'm happily chugging along. I'm hoping that I'm not going to abandon it again, because if I do abandon it again, it's going to get given away. I am rereading Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Jen from Jen Campbell is doing a read-along for this month, and I am super excited about it because Peter Pan is my favorite children's story of all time. It has been about 3 years since I've read this, though. I've kind of put it off, and since then I have acquired this amazing and beautiful edition of this book with these amazing little like interactive pages and illustrations, and it's just like, it's so cool. So I'm reading from this edition right now, which is very exciting because it's just, it kind of brings the whole thing to life in a different way. So I'm currently reading that. I'm sure I'll finish this in the next few days. It shouldn't take me too long. For most of July, I've been slowly but surely chugging along in The Avenue of Mysteries by John Irving. This is his most recent release. It came out in November of 2015. I'm a huge John Irving fan, if you're not already aware of that. And I am enjoying this. It's a little bit different than his other books, but I'm not disappointed yet. I was skeptical going into it just because it is, like I said, the narrative is a little bit different than his typical stories, but he hasn't let me down yet. We'll see if it continues to be good. I am like 200 pages from the end. I'm also starting reading Margot The First by Danielle Dutton. I very recently hauled this, and this is a historical fiction novel about Margaret Cavendish, who is kind of proclaimed as the first woman novelist in Britain, and I'm enjoying this a lot, actually. I didn't know how much I would love it. I was really drawn to the cover, and the blurb sounded really good. It was on the like staff recommends table at a bookstore, and so I picked it up, and the writing's really beautiful. So if you've had your eye on this at all, so far I can only say good things about it. And lastly, I'm still working away at Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. This is a collection of essays and speeches by Audre Lorde that hit on a variety of topics, from race to class to feminism, specifically intersectional feminism, which is very important right now. And I'm thoroughly enjoying this. This is amazing, and I'm upset that I've put it off for so long, but I do need a break in between essays to kind of process what I've read and write down some thoughts and you know. So, definitely carrying on with this. I started it over the Booktubeathon. I'm sure I will carry it on probably throughout August and hopefully have it finished up by the end of the month. So that is my July wrap-up and kind of what I'm currently reading as an update. You may have noticed that I changed my channel name. I did this for a variety of reasons. I've been unhappy with my channel name for a long time. It's a YouTube channel that I had to start for a graphic design class in college, and I just kept my username the same forever. But lately I have wanted something a little bit catchier and more relevant and honestly easier to pronounce. So I've changed my channel name. Yay. And that's all. Let me know how your July went, if you read any books you really hated. I cannot believe that I read 2 1-star books this month, because I think I've only read like 5 1-star books all year, because generally I will just DNF a book. I won't even give it a star rating. I just won't finish it if I hate it that much. But for some reason, I've been chugging along in these books that I hate. I gotta stop that. Anyhow, goodbye.